Just after Uzbekistan, I think you had some illness.
I came back coughing. Very simple coughing. That coughing.
You came back coughing.
Coughing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was regular coughing, and I was even told that it was regular coughing, and everybody had that. But I think my someone understood it was beyond the normal coughing. I was getting looking weak. Things were not okay. He rushed me to the ER.
Yeah, I remember. He called me in the evening, night in fact. It was around 8
You were the first to connect.
9 o'clock. And in fact, just I informed the doctor and in fact, uh, next day was, I will tell the story of the next day. Jai Jagannath. Welcome to my podcast, The Healing Monk. I am Dr. Suman Das, your host. In this podcast, I am going to bring some incredible stories. And in those conversations, I am going to bring their life stories. The life stories which have always inspired me. They have gone through ups and downs, but still they have always come out as winners. Today, I have with you Mrs. Jayashree Hatangade. See, whom I call a woman of substance. Well, why? That we will know at the end of this podcast. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure to be on your podcast, The Healing Monk, Dr. Suman.
You know, ma'am, the moment I decided to do the podcast, my first choice was you. Do you know why?
I would love to know.
We went to one, what you call, photography tour for Araku, and you were explaining the bamboo biryani, and you did it so beautifully. And you won't believe that was the first thing that came in my mind when I thought that this podcast I should be doing with you.
Wonderful.
So you do it so comfortably, and you have that elucidate knowledge about it, and that's why I thought, yes, you are the person with whom I should do this podcast.
Actually, that spontaneity is what I love to give many people who I interact with, because that's what happens when you're in different spaces which are new to us, unknown to us. Spontaneity, that sincerity of what is happening, if you convey, people take back beautiful memories.
That's the correct thing. So let us basically start. Tell me something about your early life. Like, I believe what your personality today, that is formed over the years, right from your childhood or your family and your schooling, etc. Would love to know about.
I'm born in Vizag. And right from, I think I could say, Nanagaru, that is my father, he was a naval officer. And by the time I must have been 4, I must have already shifted 2 places. And that began our journey as a naval officer's family. My mom, me, and my little brother, who's 2.5 years younger than me, traveling from place to place. All of them were ports. Believe me, that sense of shifting places and making every place a home as fast as possible is a set of quickness or that adaptability. Yes. Adaptability. Yeah. And not only is it about making home and that setting the new environment, another thing is that wanting to be friendly, accepted everywhere that we went. So making friends and so we had no time to waste. And my father was that immediately he took us to the neighbor's home, downstairs, upstairs, vegetable vendor, and said, "We come here. This is my daughter. This is my son." He gave us credit from when we were 4 years, 5 years. I remember that he gave us that credit. And my mom always took us and never left us at home, whether it was the canteen or whether it was the swimming pool or to the market. So right from young age, I've been taken to those spaces without feeling fear, but always feeling a sense of inclusiveness. Inclusiveness, exactly. Yes. Means you basically they taught you how to make friends. quickly.
and how to be a part of any crowd wherever you
Yes,
go.
yes.
So that's what they taught. I believe your father was a neurosurgeon.
That was so much later,
Okay.
but he was a surgeon and he was INS Ashwini, all that. So yes, he was a neurosurgeon when I was doing my 11th.
I heard a beautiful story about him. I would like to tell here that one of your friend, Mr. Prabal Mahanti, he once told me that he was, I think, class 6, and one of his relative or someone had some issue, and he just informed that I'm Jaya's friend, and the patient reached CMC, went to Vellore, and your father came and picked the patient from the station itself, and then he took him to the hospital, took all care, did the surgery, and then discharged, just because he was your friend's reference. We don't see that so often, actually.
For me, that is part of my dad's life. That is being responsible as a doctor, as a human being, and also something my father, I think, collected that kitty of good wishes, niceness. Like every day he had a collection point.
Yeah.
I would like to be part. It has not got to do only with medicine, but even as being a father, as being a
As a
friend,
person.
as a neighbor, as a husband too. I've seen very nice moments.
Yeah, once one of my seniors once told me that doctor to sab log banta hai, everyone becomes a doctor. Be a nice human being. That is the first and foremost. If you be a nice human being, doctor will always sign. And I believe that's
And I think a good human being is a pretty good doctor.
that's correct. That's correct. That's correct. So, and being in the defense background, as you told, you just shifted from place to place, and
I would like to tell you something. That is, my father never left us anywhere because of education. Wherever he was transferred, we were packed and we would go to the
yeah,
place.
that's pretty because nowadays we see people just leave their family and go to the place that they have regions that my daughter is
I mean,
studying.
in
And
the
all.
naval, they do take them. But I remember that my father's of taking us not just to a Kendra Vidyalaya, he wanted us to go to the best school there, a convent or whatever that was there. He would go inside and speak to the principal. If she was very good, I would have just finished third and had to go to the fourth. But because she was very good, put her in the fifth, you put me in the fifth.
Acha.
So I would come back and say, no, daddy, it was only for the fourth. But then he said, no, you can manage. So sometimes I went forward, sometimes I went backward. But between that, I did in 11 classes in 9 schools.
But I believe 11 classes in 9 schools, that would have given you the opportunity to learn different languages and different cultures.
It was a plethora of experiences. I sort of, I was, how to say, selfish in a peculiar way because I wanted to know about everybody that was around. And believe me, each one was so different because if it was a naval school, it would have been common kind of a culture. Everybody's transferred, but I would be in the entire class, maybe one or two naval officers' children. So we always had something to share. And I was a vocal person anyway. I love to talk and tell them about different things. There's a very interesting story when I was in the fifth. My father has gone to Leningrad. He was bringing INS Kursura and on he was a medical.
This INS Kursura,
Yes.
Visakhapatnam? Oh,
Yes.
great.
And he was on the mothership INS Amba.
Okay.
And I was telling my friends that my dad's in Leningrad and he's gone there. To fifth standard. And they said, I was like almost bullshitting, you're not correct. I came home and told mom that "Look, this is what it is." You know what my mom did? Those days atlases were not available, but she went to the Bombay roadside shops where people give away, bought an album, brought it to school, and told me, "You tell them where your father is."
Acha.
So these are things which my parents did to make it alive, our experiences and life.
That actually gives another dimension to the parenting that
Yes.
that gives the even when that's what was done and the result you see it in your future.
Yes.
So basically, then after, I believe you are also the first batch of Visakhapatnam Valley School.
Yes, I think
And
my seventh and eighth, we were this topmost class at seven, topmost class at eight. And that was,
And being the first batch of any school, and especially iconic schools or main schools of a city,
yes,
makes definitely a good memory kind of.
yes. And in fact, when we did I mean, the schooling, my father, anybody, friends would come over, would ask me, what rank did you get? Because that's the usual question. And I would say sixth. Immediately, my father would say, out of seven.
So I heard few good stories about your founder principal of Visakhapatnam School.
Oh, yes.
I would love to hear that.
He's Commander Almeida, a big person, not just personality, but even voice and even of thought. He was so, how do you say, uh, embracing his school students. And he looked at each one separately, each one
He knows
individually.
everyone's name.
Oh, yeah, names is nothing. Our quality of upbringing was what he was involved with without knowing details, but he understood us as a somebody, as a school person who runs it. So that is what gave us that sense of identity, independence. And he would say, who are you if you don't know who you are?
That, that's
So make all attempt to find yourself here. And that's how I think that remained with me for a long time, even today. I still
definitely in our school time and our childhood, we definitely remember one principal or one teacher who makes a lot of difference. Because I have a I remember one of my principal was there in Sunny School, Bhubaneswar. Colonel MPS guy, we will never forget in our life. I think he must have retired as brigadier.
wow.
The personality, the way he walks with his stick in one hand and dog holding his dog in the other hand, it is like something we see in a movie. And the personality, you feel like we were in class 6 and we feel like, okay, when we become a defense officer, we'll be like this.
Yeah. It's the impression
That's
they
the
give.
impression we carry.
Same
And
thing with Commander Almeida. When I was not allowed because I was not so good in my studies, my father said, "You're not going somewhere." He came driving to my home and he says, "Doctor, do you have any?" Immediately, my father said, "No, no, no, she's going." And those are the things he said, stand up for what you believe in. And I think if I have to imagine him today, I imagine him with a big heart standing out. That's the kind of personality, you could see it.
yes, yes. That makes a lot of difference.
Yes.
In fact, in our entire life, we remember
Yes.
that.
Yes.
And after your schooling, in your college life, I believe you have been involved in a lot of organizing events and exhibitions, all that.
That's a very interesting part of my life because all along I've been transferred so many times. But when he became a neurosurgeon, he was the first neurosurgeon of all the three services.
Oh, really?
Yeah, first
Of the
neurosurgeon
entire country?
of the entire country of all the three armed forces.
What was his name?
Surgeon Commander T. Suryarao.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the neurosurgical center was in Lucknow. And so he was officially NCH neurosurgeon going there.
First MCH neurosurgeon, we have to say that.
For the three armed forces. And he was in this naval uniform, a dark gentleman with a dimples he has, my dad.
Oh.
And I was also dark. And I come from Madras, Vellore, where he did his MCH. And there in Lucknow, everybody were beautiful, fair and beautiful. And I always thought I'm coming out from a cold tar tin, It's, but something less than few weeks, I knew that I am my charming self and I'm confident.
That gave you the basically.
So the only thing is that won't help. You have to do things. You have to be active. You have to be involved. You have to contribute. You have to participate. That's where it was all. So
it came naturally to you, or you felt like, no, I should do that.
no, it is natural, but there is an intensity in the natural.
Yes.
That intensity I would put myself into. Just doing something is just doing something, but being thoroughly involved is a different level. That's
So
where it
that
is.
that involvement you got because you felt that I am colder, or you it
No.
came natural. That's what
I knew I know I have my skill sets, my abilities. So I wanted people not to think of my looks, but to
Exactly.
think of me as a person of performance. I could do
So
that.
basically, looks doesn't matter much.
Yes, but I knew better. I had to let the others
Yeah.
know about
Yeah,
it.
that's correct. Actually, people start judging.
Yes,
People start judging. Even nowadays, also we see that people start judging, and that's a very bad thing. And we should not get affected by it.
I did
We
get
we, we
affected.
should basically prove them wrong. So,
There was no right or wrong. Really
exactly.
speaking, it was about my ability to be part of that crowd, and it was an exciting crowd.
So, I believe 1978 you had your love marriage.
I knew
And it, in fact, I think in 1978, love marriage is not a common thing that we see.
more than like 1970. I knew Sohan, my husband, partner, as I call him, my companion, from I was since 8th standard.
8th standard.
Yes, when I was studying in Vishaka Valley School, I was introduced to him.
Oh,
So I know him from a very long time and his family very long time. Not that we were having any romantic relationship, but I was helping him in his romantic situations.
oh,
I would get chocolate, I would get comic, I would get different things if I got his girlfriend from.
that's it.
So that is one. And the other one, I had the typical Andhra style of seeing matches.
Okay.
I had 14 matches, and each of the matches that came were comical, humorous.
And you did all that,
Yes.
so your feet and all
Not
that.
that, and the person would like, minute I think he liked, I would do things like this. So like,
Okay, you did that.
I did
Oh,
so many of all those.
okay.
I would come back and tell him all this.
Like the movies.
I would come back and tell him all this, and he would hear these stories. And one fine day, we were very good friends. He took pity on me and said, "Why don't you marry me?"
Okay, that was how he proposed it.
Yes.
Great.
But that pity changed. Now everyone pities him because of me. So it's more than a love, it's a pity marriage.
No. He is very happy. In fact, we see you both as what you call couples with couple goals. You have a couple goal of what you call the efforts that you put to for the upliftment of the society or for the activism and for the what you call the things you do in Araku and all. And we have always seen as supportive partner. We rarely see, and especially when people are of after so many years of uh, togetherness, and that companionship and that thing that respecting each other, that's great. I completely it's commendable.
Thank you so much.
And I believe you were also into kind of advertising agency, and as I heard that you were kind of a go-to person for promoting or launching their products in your stint in Chennai.
That's 20 years of Reach Marketing Services. What a place it was. It was something like, let's say, I was not good in studies, but I wanted to make a mark wherever I went. That was very important. So I had an accident prior to that, 1984, and I know my abilities. I started this.
What accident exactly?
It was an auto accident right
Okay.
here on the
Okay.
beach road,
Oh, okay.
and very badly hurt. And I'm still semi-paralyzed in my right hand.
Right hand?
Yeah,
Okay.
C5, C6.
But I have seen you writing with right hand.
I write, but there's a different style. I pull my arm forward and backward.
Oh, but basically, you made yourself to
Yeah.
basically you didn't take that disability or whatever the weakness that you developed in your
No,
right
but
hand.
if I
You
whack
were
with my right
affected.
hand, the person's finished.
Oh, yeah.
I have no control.
To be very frank, I never knew about this accident before I started to do research before talking to you on this podcast. I came to know, and then I thought, I mean, really, we never see that you have because
I need to.
But you carry your right hand so well. You carry yourself so well that no one can. So that gives one big lesson to everyone that some kind of setbacks can happen at any point of time. But I think we have to adjust to it, and we should basically learn from that and improve ourselves.
I must come back to my dad. When he heard I paralyzed, semi-paralyzed my right hand, he just looked straight in my face. You're not paralyzed talking, no, you're fine.
Correct.
So that's the only sentence he said today.
Correct.
So when I started it in Chennai, it was for people like me who have an aspiration to do something and a mark, and all young kids want to do it. So those who are academically very good, go ahead, pursue careers. But those who are not academically so sound but want to make a difference by themselves, come to Reach Marketing. So we were a fun place. Our office was full of music, games, and stuff like that. But we were promoting high level consumer durable white goods, brown goods, and financial products. So we launched the Adrian Agro Bank. We launched the Standard Chartered Credit Card.
Launch in India.
Yes. And the HDFC Bank too.
I
They're
think
launched in India.
SDFC should take a note of it.
No, they all know, they're aware of it.
No, I mean after this.
Yes. So launching a bank is something which requires a huge amount of in-depth knowledge of how to
Yes.
go about it.
I've seen the advertisement of yours of the financing that I think it was done on a snooker table.
Yes, about how.
And do you know what was my first impression? Oh my God, they did it at that time, 1984. And we see so many things nowadays with the social media, the technology, the artificial intelligence, and I believe what was done in that time is far better conceptually and also the visual. So that was not that the AI or something can generate.
And that was with thousands of young kids, all between the ages of 16 to 22, in rough markets. They were able to sustain themselves, sell themselves, and connect with customers and give feedback to companies. And it went on for years.
In fact, I just want to add, like your right hand, you adjusted and that. So when I talk with my patients, so basically cancer patients, they're afraid of their surgeries. Someone affected with tongue cancer. The first thing that I'm a marketing guy, how can I talk? How can I get into the business? Then I tell them, if you have the intent, you will get the direction. So talking with half of your tongue is not a big deal. So, but for that you have to live. If you live, you can comfortably, our body itself will adjust.
Adjust.
So that's what is very, very important. Everyone should understand that, I believe. And do you think that the like efforts that you are putting there during your marketing and all that, how do you relate it to the present day? Like the social media, reels, or the present advertising kind of thing. How do you relate it?
Uh, every time there is an effort to impact, whether it was then or whether it is now. The change or the modest might, the modes of communication or the angle of communication might change, but the appealing is always human. Appealing is always long term. The short term ones don't live.
Yes.
So that particular thing is, there's a base. The ground, which is foundation, is always the same. Whatever you build might change. So what happens is the efforts that are put in for getting that eyeballs on a product or understanding is always there.
Always.
But the way you build it up changes.
Correct.
So I don't think it is much of a difference. But yes, I sometimes feel the intensity that we put in a product or a exchange of a concept is not as in depth as was needed. Today, people do it themselves. You don't need a personal interaction to know how many things work because of YouTube will do it.
YouTube, and we get it's basically flooding of information.
Yes.
Earlier, that information was not there. We were doing research.
Yes.
Simple thing, we used to remember our
Yes.
near and dear's mobile number. Now you ask my wife's number, I think. So, uh, so let us discuss about how, like, after that, I believe you went to Bahrain, and
Yes.
then how did you decide to come back to Visakhapatnam?
Before coming back to Visakhapatnam, the thing is of running a business and reaching Bahrain is also another important aspect. We did so well with ABN AMRO that the RBI asked us to take over. No longer a private agency could run it. So I gave away all my sales staff to ABN. They gifted me with a huge set of everything that is good for a person to retire. And I happened to land up at Bahrain. And within 15 days, I restarted work there.
Okay, that's a restarting.
Absolutely.
You can't sit down. They can't think that.
And I think that, and never in the history of Bahrain have they seen something called direct selling agent. And I started it for Standard Chartered Bank there.
Oh, okay.
And then I did for Diners Club International Credit Card, handling Dubai, handling Doha. And I was traveling like you go to Srikakulam and Vijaypur.
Between Doha and Dubai.
Dubai and Bahrain.
Oh my God. True. That's very interesting. In fact, in those days, we used to see many of the ladies who like, who will do that, who will do this, who will travel. But having that attitude to go to the that level of work is commendable.
I think when you stop looking at yourself as a gender or an age or your background, when you stop looking and drop off all those
We
baggages,
should not, exactly.
then what happens is something else that comes out. And I think with that, many of them who are successful will tell you the same story. I feel successful always, whether I'm doing anything or not. I feel happy.
How were your like children during that your journey?
Wonderful. We have a lovely daughter called
Yeah, I met her.
Panki Latangari, and she's done her NIFT with design and fashion. She's a vice president now for Tommy Hilfiger. She was always just like the two of us. Very active, very involved, always contributing, very good in studies. She was really quiet. She was not naughty like me. I always wanted her to be naughty, to have some. She says, "Don't bother, Mama. I will tell my child your grandmother did everything."
Correct. I think you were after coming to Visakhapatnam, you have been involved in few nice things like the Araku tribal upliftment, and you adopted some village, and you were also awarded the Paul Harris Award.
Yes.
That's a pretty great achievement, in fact.
We came to Vizag, hometown, settled here after such a huge lifestyle of working. I thought Vizag was not, I couldn't do anything. But I got introduced by Son and his friend to the Arco area. And believe me,
How it happened? It happened accidentally that you got
not accident,
like, or
no,
it just appealed to you. Yes, I should do something for these people.
nothing. I didn't know who they are. I didn't know what my contribution. I didn't know anything about it. But the stories this gentleman told was a fascination. Tribal. Not that I didn't know. I have been to Lamsingi before, but that was a very short period. I don't know. When he was saying this word tribal, I would ask my mom or neighbor or my grandmother and all. They would always talk of them as something far away, nobody knows. But I started having that curiosity and I went just once, only once. That once was the biggest bug I was bitten. And I knew it was what we call India and diversity. It was all that. I didn't know these terms then. But I just saw another lifestyle, another way of doing things. And everything they did was so natural.
That was natural, yes.
Natural, the
I have
smile.
not been much, but I think you only took us to the photography tour. And one thing I liked about the time that I spent there was it was all natural.
Yes.
They're not, yes, some guys still nowadays getting attracted to the mobile stuff and all, but otherwise, all the children, the adults, the older generation, they were all like, they're completely nailed. I can
Yes.
tell that they're nailed.
Yes.
So they're not adulterated by the
Yes.
life that we people live.
And that
And that I
niceness,
love that.
that niceness that you speak about, you see the reflection. When you go there, you feel that yourself. And you recognize it in them and you recognize it in yourself. So you drop everything and you become as naive as them when you go back to them repeatedly. That's the bug.
So there was one event, something called a school year abroad.
It's not an event.
Okay.
It is an American educational organization,
Acha.
which is from 1964, but decided, and they've done it in Italy, Spain, France, China. And then they started in Vizag in 2007 8 and went on for some time. This one is something called American students doing 1 year of school abroad, which is Vizag, to
Okay.
get a
So
exposure.
they will come here, they will stay here. So you were coordinating that completely.
Yes, I was director for the Indian operations.
Okay. Okay. And from here you went to Vietnam after that.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is, these students stay in Indian homes here who speak Hindi so that they learn the language, Indian history, environment, while doing the American curriculum.
Okay. Acha.
And
They learn the culture of India.
Yes, and they must be involved with children, students, old people, physically disabled, everything that, and travel. Everything has to be organized for them. In this, these children are in-depth curious, sincerely curious. So they would keep asking Jayashri, what is this? What is that? So those were the questions that led me to say that they need in-depth, proper answers. Why do you touch your feet? Why is it that they pray to sun god? Why is it that they do these different things? All those, why do they have these rituals in the temple? You have so many gods. How do you explain that to an American student who's come here? That's where
Curiosity is very important.
very high. My answers were just like anybody's, but I knew that was not enough. So I started telling them, write your questions, give it to me, and the next week I will talk to you because it should be
You'll do
properly done.
research and all.
That's exactly what I did. And I realized that I was more, that is when I was a real Indian.
I will tell you one very nice incident. Once I was traveling to Delhi, I believe, in the train. So then we see many times in the second sleeper class or third AC, we see some if Americans they go for they just roam around with a backpack. So there was one guy who was there. Then I spoke to him and we had very good conversation during the entire journey. Then in the end, I gave him my email ID. I told him, please write your experience and send it to me. I would love to. And he sent it. I have posted it in my blog.
Okay.
Okay, I posted it in my blog. And the ultimate gist was that he was mesmerized with the cultural differences. He is traveling from Odisha to Andhra Pradesh, where he ate in Odisha, he ate dalma, and here he ate all South Indian things. Language, just in that one day, he faces there is different language, there is different god they are praying, and that was like there is so much of diversity, and still they all call themselves as Indian. So that was the beauty of his email, and I loved it. I posted it in my blog, and that is because of that research, you got into the heritage.
No,
Because people call you as heritage narrator, actually.
I've always traveled. Heritage always appealed to me. My mother also, when we were young, wherever we were posted, she would take us to these sites. And she'd always tell us the story of those sites, whether we understood or not was immaterial, but she delivered these packages. So that was always interesting. All this combined together, I realized that Vizag was not shared like how I would hear it abroad, which had nothing much to really speak about unless it was one of those fascinating countries like Egypt or Rome or those. We also should be having it. And that when I started connecting the dots, there were other people, intact members earlier who helped in getting these stuff together. But then I just took off. 2015, I realized that I can do this myself and I started taking small groups, but I would say that I'm conducting it. I would expect 6 or 7 to come. I would suddenly turn around 20 have come.
Acha.
And I would carry in my bag the maps, the pictures, and everything is facts. Everything is facts. Everything happened one day some time ago. And telling that, I think people were so fascinated. So now
We are. I have also attended some of yours, and it's fascinating the way you explain. The first thing I thought, my God, how does he have so much in-depth knowledge? And in fact, you have very good way of expressing to make it more interesting, and it's beautiful. And that is how you got into the travel. Like you have traveled to 41 countries,
yes.
so you love traveling, basically.
I mean, everybody loves travel.
Yeah.
But then love traveling is, I'm not one of those travelers where 9 countries in 12 days, 15-day times. That's not the checklist at all. Sohan and I and my daughter, we have always traveled number of days, 12, 19, 21 kind of days we do for each of the countries, well planned, well thought of. We've done those.
Yeah. So that's it. I think last your trip that I would like to speak about was your Uzbekistan trip. So how was it basically? You enjoyed the trip completely?
Oh, see, we going to Uzbekistan was scheduled in April. But for 1 year before, we are going to Uzbekistan because the research. I traveled with American friends. I traveled alone from Vizag, Delhi to Tashkent, met my American friends at Tashkent, and that's where we go together. We've done Morocco also together. We've done India also like
Yeah,
that.
with the same guys.
With the same group of,
Same group.
yes. They've come to Vizag in the school year abroad program.
Oh,
That's
okay.
my
That's
connection.
how your connection.
My connection. I've traveled America also with them like that.
Okay.
So the huge connection. So when we reached there for 1 year, we've been doing a lot of homework, a lot of those little things. So what happens is the country sort of gets into your system. That's how we were at Uzbekistan.
So just after Uzbekistan, I think you had some illness.
I came back coughing. Very simple coughing. That coughing.
You came back coughing.
Coughing.
Yeah.
And I thought it was regular coughing, and I was even told that it was regular coughing, and everybody had that. But I think my someone understood it was beyond the normal coughing. I was getting looking weak. Things were not okay. He rushed me to the ER.
Yeah, I remember. He called me in the evening, night. In fact, it was around 8.
You were the first to connect.
9 o'clock, and in fact, to be very frank, I thought something. I didn't take that seriously. I thought, okay, just I informed the doctor, and in fact, uh, next day was. I will tell the story of the next day. In fact, next day, entire day, I was very busy, and the next day, I was supposed to go to Simla for my holiday, and I came back home. I forgot to go and meet you in the chamber, your room. And I came back home exactly around 7 or 7:30. I reached home, and I was supposed to pack. And next day, early morning, we had our flight. 7 o'clock, Rajesh, our friend from our camera club, he called me. I said, there is some problem with the in reports of madam. What problem is CA 125 is raised. The first thing was, oh my God, shit. And I forgot to see you. And next thing is, I know that I can't leave this to someone else. I can't go for a holiday with this information. And then I rushed. And immediately, I think 8 o'clock I came. And after that, I immediately caught up with all the reports and everything. Within half an hour, I came to know that the diagnosis is there. That is where the what you call the story of breaking the bad news comes. So I informed the doctor under whom we were admitted, and that sir, this is the thing, and Jayasri Garu is my very close family friend, and this is what has come out ultimately. Okay, okay, doctor, we'll tell tomorrow. We'll see. Will talk. But thing is that I thought tomorrow cannot be. We can't wait for tomorrow. I can't leave this to someone else. I know you as a person from so many years, and I felt that I can't leave this to someone else, and I don't know how that guy is going to do that. And then after that, he will refer to someone. He will refer to someone. He will advise some other test, some other test. And whereas I am the person who can direct it in the right channel. So just for breaking the bad news and waiting for one more day can delay the entire process by many more days, and also it can give a misdirection. And that is where then I spoke to Son. Son told, you take a call. And then I remember I went and I told him. And initially it was a shock for him, I think. But as I expected, that shock was for only hardly 1 to 2 minutes, maybe. And the next moment you said that, okay, you just go ahead, whatever is supposed to be done. And in fact, I then connected you to my colleague, Dr. Rakesh, and then I could actually go. I was in touch with them over phone, but I could go comfortably. So that was the episode there. How do you feel how important is that breaking the bad news for a patient who is suffering with cancer? And how was your feeling?
For me, it was not like a doctor and a patient relationship. But besides telling that I have what I have, that is cancer, ovarian, you made it like these are something that has happened to you, and there is always you have to trust us, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I told.
And this also has a backing because, as you remember, my father being a neurosurgeon, he would come by with so many such cases. So for me, a doctor and a hospital is nothing else but a huge establishment of hope. And that is what you absolutely directed beautifully straight where it had to go. And I had a sense of great strength.
Yeah, I always feel that the first moment when a person gets diagnosed with this kind of disease like cancer, uh, we have to first make them understand
Correct.
what it is, where we stand, and basically, if the hope is there, we should give a shot. And I always tell my patient, like many patients, they feel that I should not do anything. My age is over. I always give them one example. Suppose you are walking on the road and you suddenly see that one car has lost its balance and is rushing towards you. You have two options. Either you stand there or you jump. There may be a drain full of shit and you have to jump into that. So what will you do? Then you'll say that I jump into the ship. So now we're in that situation. That is the only way we are going to survive. Yes. If you are not going to get the treatment done, you are not going to survive. Yes. So you choose. You have to choose, and that instinct that you have to choose, that you have to jump, whatever it is. Yes. You may get injured, but you will come out. Yes. So that's always the thing that people should understand. See, even all this that you put, the muddle, the filth that one has to, I mean, however that you described it, there's a sense of truth.
this chocolate wrapping which people do is incorrect.
Exactly. Exactly. We will say that nothing will happen.
That is, you didn't say that you'll jump and just fall on green grass.
Exactly.
You said you'll fall in that gutter.
Yeah.
No, that is what is the truth.
And then you come out.
You come out. Yes.
That's what we have to come out.
Yes.
That is more
Yes.
important. So did this diagnosis, then you went through the chemotherapies and then you went through surgery. In fact, 2 times I believe, and
Yes.
then after that again chemotherapies, all that you went through. Uh, and in fact, I should say that the video that you made driving to the chemotherapy, it is still on my desktop. I show to all my patients whoever like kind of are worried that what will happen to me after chemotherapy and all that. I just saw this. You see this lady. He just came driving. So you also can do that. It's not something big. Nowadays things have changed. I keep that video onto you, and that was great. It's so inspiring. It gives a dimension to the people who are kind of suffering with cancer, and they can look forward to it.
In fact, there's that old quotation: "If you don't help yourself, no one can
No
help
one
you."
will.
So that's what
That
it
app,
is.
that's app.
That's apt what it is. Not only in a crucial crisis situation, even in anything. If you don't help yourself, you don't get it.
Sometimes the patient says, I'm not, I don't want to eat, I don't feel like eating. Then I tell them, actually, if I eat one more chapati and that will go to your abdomen, I would love to do that. But that won't happen. So you have to eat for yourself, whatever it is. So like that. So did this diagnosis, this journey, change some perspective in your life, or what was your feeling at that time? That's a common question that everyone has. That once you face these kind of challenges, you have a different perspective to see it.
I don't know how to say it, but I'm fascinated by what I went through. I don't know what it is to have an MRI. I don't know what's a PET.
You never went through
I
it.
never went through. I don't even have a medical file. I don't even take a multivitamin. And for me, all this was an experience. I won't call it a happy experience, but it is an experience which was given to me, yes, because of a disease, because of what I went through. But I'm fascinated with all the infrastructure, with all the equipment, with the doctor's support, the teams of within the room, and the nurses and everything. People can tell me good things, I hear it. I have never experienced it. For me, every moment was pain or no pain or difficult, whatever. But I will treasure it that I've been through it all, and I can be one of those interpreter of how to go forward with all this. That is what it is.
I'll definitely convey your message to Apollo and Dr. Rakesh Reddy, Dr. Chandra Kalyan.
Absolutely. They were great, absolutely, when they went through it. Just like you did it, they were detailing you at every stage. They never shy of it. That's
important. In fact, we believe that if the patient understands that what treatment he is undergoing or she is going to undergo, then the things will become easy. For radiation, like we give radiation for 30 days, let us say. I always tell the day before the radiation, when I am talking to them, if they understand what radiation is, after that the radiation will be over. They also won't know. So that's how they think. And how important do you feel your family support, your sister
it was
came and your
absolutely that is
daughter? I met your daughter during that time, in fact, for the first
yes.
time.
In fact, that is the backing, the
That's
complete. Sohan was there by my side, I think, every moment.
Every moment.
And my daughter was there during the operation. My sister was there like every time. And my brother, who is in California, was also a great support. He might not have been here, but he was emotionally with me and my mother, who's 86 years. now needed this support from everybody. So that is beyond spelling. I can't say they did this or they were there with me.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, when you were admitted, you were undergoing surgery, you were undergoing the chemotherapy sessions. I used to get so many calls. How is she? How is she? So many people. Even that time, I came to know many people know you. Many people. My running friend, Mr. Rai,
Yeah.
Balakrishna Rai, he asked me, "Arey, how is Jayashree?" I told, Acha, you know what?
And it's incomplete if I don't say that my people in my home who look after me, my home help, my driver, everybody
Everyone.
participated in that. And it
That's that gives us that confidence that yes, people are around us.
The strength.
They are the strength for us,
Yes.
and these kind of things, in fact, events in our life, gives us that opportunity to kind of understand that. And so, what is your future bucket list? Anything that you?
One thing is I get back to my travel area. I've a lot of interesting things were being done even when I was like this through WhatsApp because that's a great grace. I will continue going back. There's a book which I've been thinking. Already first edition was distributed. I want the second edition called Girijana Vaibhavam happening. And yes, what I've experienced now, I think I'll share that with giving strength to a lot more people who need it whenever that is expected. And I'll travel somewhere.
So I'll just now, before we end, I'll define. I'll read the definition of. I'll read it because exact wordings I'll read them. I'll read the definition of woman of substance. Okay. A woman of substance is someone who possesses the qualities like strength, resilience, intelligence, responsiveness, and still she is grounded, confident, makes a positive impact on the world around you. And I believe you completely, you completely fulfill all the criteria, all the points that is mentioned for being a woman of substance. I must thank you for what you've done. It was a beautiful, how do you say, a glimpse that I shared with you, but then you made me feel so fulfilled by going through this. You call yourself the healing monk. You're definitely a healing monk. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And before we sign off, I request you to please like and subscribe our podcast and do like us, do follow us in our social media channels. And thank you. Good evening. Namaste.